Interesting stoppage. It looked like Cormier had some momentum going, and then Jones landed that head kick.
All right, how much momentum did he have going? Because I was very entertained by it. You know, my first takeaway was, geez, as a fan, I am so curious what was going to happen in the next 5 to 8 minutes. Mm-hmm. I watched that with Gilbert, and Gilbert thought Cormier was winning. In fact, Gilbert thought that Cormier had won the first 2 rounds. Now, I don't know what the official judges had. I know that information's out there, but I haven't got it. I had it the other way. Okay. I thought that Jones had won both rounds, and I did think Cormier was finding some really good spots, but I didn't quite see it like some other people did. But I did feel like the momentum was changing. I don't know if that's because Jon was letting up or if Cormier was just really had his foot on the gas, but I did feel like Cormier was coming on, but that's one of the things we'll never know. That's why I was saying I just wish we could have seen another round to a round and a half just to see where that fight was headed. But I thought Jones looked great. I didn't subscribe to Daniel being down on himself. And, you know, when you have those really high goals and those high expectations, there's something very admirable about it. But there's also something where you got to grab a guy and go, Daniel, you did amazing. You competed with a guy who's the best in the world, the best the sport's ever seen, and you competed extremely close. Mm-hmm. And I think what the hard reality was, and I want to be careful with these words because this could sound very mean, and I don't want it to. Cormier had come out before the fight and had said, this is about legacy. If I win this fight, I go down as the greatest light heavyweight ever. And he is right. That is fair. The other side of that coin is the one that he's left with, which is, Daniel, you were the champion, but you were never the best. Right. And that sounds very ruthless to say, but that is what was at stake here. On one side, if you're a Cormier supporter, man, or a naysayer, you got to concede. If he beat Jones, he's the best. The other side of it is this. He was the champion, but he wouldn't have been if Jones was still active. And right. that's the hard reality I think we saw kind of come out with that emotion. But boy, he's something special either way. I mean, Daniel Cormier is something special. In any other era, he's on top. And you saw how close the Rumble fights were. They weren't that close.
No, he crushed Rumble twice.
Dominant champion. I'll go back to his wrestling days. He was second. He was second in the NCAA. However, he was second to Chael Sonnen, the single greatest person to have ever done it. So in any other era, Cormier is not only the champion in his college days, he's the champion by several points. The gap was very big between him and the number 3 guy. Right. It was just also big between him and the number 1 guy, but he was born on the wrong day. If he had been born in any other year and not had to deal with Chael Sonnen, the story's totally different. And I bring that up kind of as a defense to Cormier because he is that good. He was good enough to be the best in his college days. He's good enough to be the best right now. You remember Junior Dos Santos when he was on top. Yeah. Junior Dos Santos would have been the champion of the world for a meaningful amount of time if there wasn't a guy named Cain Velasquez. If anybody else was there, anybody, and I mean the gap between Junior and number 3 was huge. Tremendous. The problem was the gap between Junior and Cain was also huge. And I think you could probably play this game I'm playing right now
forever
in any weight class and with every single there's just fighters. That special guy. But you know, those two guys come to mind, and I just mean it as a compliment to Daniel. I was looking at it and just going, Daniel, you should be so proud of yourself. I know you didn't get what you wanted, but you should be so proud of yourself. He never quit, even when he was hurt with that head kick. He didn't know where he was when he was interviewing with Joe Rogan. But if you go watch the tape, he did not lay down and ball up and curl up like any of the rest of us would have done. He was trying to get up. The only functioning thing in his body and mind was telling him, push forward. And it was so admirable. And when I saw him hurt like that and showing his emotion, I thought, Daniel, this is wrong. This is wrong. You should be so proud of yourself. And it is true. We did establish Jon Jones is the better fighter. That's true. But that's okay. That's okay to establish that. You go out there, you try as hard as you can, and then you live with the result. And I thought that I really think, and I hope with time, that he can pat himself on the back and go, man, that was a memorable fight and an honorable showing. And it was.
Yeah, I could see as a competitor and a fighter, I could really see how being, you know, so close to the top, but still being that number 2 guy would really eat at you. And especially considering his love for wrestling and his love for MMA, to always have that one guy that's keeping you from the top of the mountain is going to really, really get to you. Yeah, at best, you can only say, you know, when he was champion, he was only a paper champion because it was only because Bones was out, and the one thing he wanted to legitimize his career as a whole was to beat Bones, and he couldn't do it. He was close. He was close twice. He went to the decision the one time. In the third fight, like I said, he had momentum because I feel like he was pushing forward. He was landing some good punches. But Jones was the whole time he was there, he was landing kicks. He looked super thick in this fight. He looked big. I think he's kind of becoming more of a man. He was very young when he first won the title. But for Daniel, it's just got to be rough to have that guy that has escaped you for a couple of years and have that shot at him and just to fall short again.
Yeah, no, I think that we saw that, and the question is, well, what do you do? What do you do now if you're Daniel? Because they're never making that fight. He's never getting in there with Jon Jones again. I believe Daniel's 39 years old. I'm real close. If was he 38? Mm-hmm. Well, no. What am I saying? He and I are the same year. Yeah, he's 39 years old, just about to be 40. He's never getting that fight again. So what do? Do you stick around and be one of the guys? Yeah, he could still have some big fights, even if they're not. I just don't know if that's what he wants. So let me propose to you this. What if Daniel Cormier changed weight classes? Now, there's talk out there of him going to 185. That talk is coming because he was a 184-pounder in college. Does he go down there and snatch the belt up from anyone that's got it? Yeah, you bet your ass he does. However, I think he should go the opposite direction and go back to heavyweight. Don't forget, he's an undefeated heavyweight. He's an undefeated light heavyweight, save Jon Jones. Mm-hmm. And the only reason Daniel went to light heavyweight is he is officially Cain Velasquez's coach. Officially. Not only is he the corner for him, he is paid for it. He was asked by Cain, and Daniel follows the code that you put your athlete in front of yourself no matter what. So he did that for his athlete, which is Cain. Cain has been absent as of late. And at some point, Daniel might just go talk to Cain and go, look, what are you doing in your career? Because I'm thinking about sliding back up here, but I don't want to ruffle any feathers and take anything away from you. But I would make the argument, regardless of the conversation that has come out. I think Mike Dolce helped to start that. I said, I think I'd get him down to 185. Aside from that argument, I think he should go the other way. Go back up to heavyweight. You remember what he did to Josh Barnett, one of the greats ever?
He ragdolled him.
Yeah, you saw what he did to Frank Mir, multiple-time champion. You saw what he did. I mean, he didn't have any problem. He didn't have any problem with Roy Nelson. He didn't have any problem with any of those guys. Mm-hmm. And I think he could capture the belt fairly quickly. What would you think? I mean, would that put a Band-Aid on this, or is that just a full admittance of, yeah, but I still can't beat that guy? I mean, is there a way to patch this? I would think there is. For me, a belt's a belt. Title's a title. Guys jockey weights and move around the best they can for themselves. I don't think there should be anything negative about that.
He would have to do a lot to erase an 0-2 deficit to Jon Jones and get back in there. I don't think there's ever, I don't know, have they done a guy, has there been a fight where a guy's been 0-2 and then he gets another shot against a guy?
No, there hasn't. Now, you could find them in boxing. Pacquiao, I think, had beat Marquez 3 or 4 times. And right. If he beat him 3 times, they did a 4th. If he beat him 4, they did a 5th.
Yeah.
So there is, but there was a little bit of a storyline that, we don't agree with that judge's decision, and that was a little controversial. On this, there was no controversy. Jon Jones beat him 2 times. Now, with that said, I'll tell you, as a fan, as a buyer, as one of their customers, I'm buying that fight if they fight every single weekend. I love it. I want to see it. I thought Daniel was very honest when Joe Rogan just said to him, "What about the rivalry?" And he said, "I've lost both fights. There is no rivalry." Right. I thought that was a very fair and truthful statement. Now, the truth does not help with promotion. The truth is not good, but that's what he said, and that is what we're left with. And then you've also got, look, Gustafsson deserves his shot. I bet your ass he does. You want to do some good business, you bring in Rumble Johnson. Listen, as crazy as it sounds for Jones versus Brock Lesnar, it's actually not, because Jones means it and he wants it. Now, if you're the promoter, you go, well, hell yeah, I'm going to make that, and that'll be the biggest fight of all time. What people think the missing link is Brock. But I can tell you, from knowing Brock for 20 years, you can say whatever you want about him. You cannot say he's a coward.
Right.
Brock Lesnar is an animal, and if you insult him the right way, he will respond. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. He has already contacted Dana, whoever it is he's had to talk to. What do I got to do with USADA? What do I have to do? Guaranteed behind the scenes that has happened. I suspect Dana is going, this isn't what I want to do. Now, Coker loves it. Coker doesn't care. Coker go, look, you're this way, but you guys want to fight. I'll figure out how to make it happen. Mm-hmm. Dana likes to be a little more disciplined in those weight classes. I don't love that,
right.
But I'm a fan now. I'm not a fighter that's in there. When I used to be a fighter in there, I supported Dana. But now that I'm on the other side and I'm just an observer, I'm going, hey, Dana, if these two guys want to get down, the same thing with Conor and Mayweather. Hey, if these guys want to do it, give it to us, man. We want to see it. So just trying to guess the psychology of Dana. I don't think that he would be the first to that. However, over time, much like Conor and Floyd, if the demand was big enough, yes, he will do business first. What do you think? I mean, am I close on that?
Yeah, Dana's never been a big fan of doing the fantasy matchups. Like in Pride, they would put, ridiculous matchups together just because the fans wanted to see it, and people loved that. I loved those Pride fights where they would do the ridiculous fantasy matchups. I loved seeing Dan Henderson fight heavyweight guys. Him fighting Fedor in Strikeforce was amazing. That was great. I don't know why, if there's a demand for it. I don't know if there is a huge demand for it, though. I mean, they're going back and forth on social media. I don't know if anybody really cares all that much. The wrestling fans would love Brock Lesnar. They always support Brock Lesnar fighting. The Jon Jones, the legitimate MMA fans always want to see Brock Lesnar get beat. So Jon's, certainly a guy that could do it. Just to go back to Daniel, though, like at heavyweight, he ran through that. He was unknown until that Strikeforce heavyweight tournament happened, and he ran through those guys. And I think heavyweight's the move for him. But like he would be admitting that I can't beat Jon Jones. I'm going to just run out of this weight class. And the Cain Velasquez thing is an issue, but. If Brock Lesnar and Jon Jones fought, that would be, second to Conor and Floyd as like the, freak show fight of the year. If they were able to do it before this end of this year.
Well, you call it a freak show, but the other side of the coin is Jon has been testing the waters of going up to heavyweight, and people say, well, could he deal with the size? Well, let's just figure that out right now. Let's just put him in there with the biggest heavyweight there is. That solves that problem. As far as Jon and making the weight class, he's only 1 pound away. Don't forget, anything above 205 pounds, 206 and up is heavyweight. So Jon walks around about 225 to 228. Verdum only gets in the ring at 239. Stipe gets in the ring at 240. He's right there. Randy Couture was champion of the world at 222. So Jon's 3 to 6 pounds bigger than him. I guess I'm just saying, I don't know that it's as big of a freak show as some people think. You've got the former world heavyweight champion against the reigning world light heavyweight champion. I would suspect that Jon would need to make a decision, perhaps, and that would solve some headaches for Dana instead of holding up a division and having everybody pissed off at him. If Jon was to relinquish and just say, hey, I'm going up to heavyweight and I'm starting with Brock and I'm finishing with Stipe, all of a sudden we've got a storyline. And you let some other guys go fight for the undisputed light heavyweight championship. I don't think that's the only way you